Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the meeting. I'm Claire Ponton. I'm the Mayor of Mid-Coast. Members of the public are able to attend the meeting in person or view the meeting live through a web link on Council's website. The meeting is being recorded and a copy of this recording will be placed on Council's website as soon as practical after the meeting. The meeting must not be recorded, distributed or circulated by others without the prior written consent of the Council in accordance with Council's Code of Meeting Practice. And I will ask you to stand for the acknowledgement. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Tongue-speaking people, and pay my respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who now reside in the Mid-Coast Council area. I extend my respect to elders past and present and to all future cultural knowledge holders. Oops. If councillors could stay standing. We, the councillors of Mid-Coast Council, will undertake the duties of the Office of Councillor in the best interests of the Mid-Coast community and will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in us under the Local Government Act 1993 to the best of our abilities and judgment. All right, we're going to move immediately into a special activity because we have some very honoured guests here to receive some plaques is the word. Thank you from us.
Good afternoon, all. My name's Adrian Panuccio, and I'm here to, I suppose, go through some background on our OAM recipients. We have two today receiving plaques, and we have a third who's unable to attend, which I'll mention at the conclusion. So in no particular order, I'll first refer to Mr. Robert James Smith. Mr. Robert Smith, and I'll go through a bit of a history. Bear with me. So Mr. Robert Smith was a member of the Fire and Rescue New South Wales from 1958 to 1990. During his service, he was a member of the Management Committee and the inaugural chair of the Critical Incident Debriefing Team between 1988 to 1990. He was also the former Personnel Superintendent. Mr. Smith founded the Employees of New South Wales Fire Brigades Relief and Welfare Fund in 1988. He was a board member for 38 years and a chair for 12. In 2000, he was awarded life membership, and in 2009, he became a life patron. Mr. Smith was the director of the Fire Brigades Employee Credit Union for 20 years and the chair of that union for 7 years before becoming a patron in 2015. In addition to Mr. Smith's service through emergency response welfare organisations, Mr. Smith last year reached a milestone of 50 years as an authorised marriage celebrant. Are you still acting? It's all right. I don't plan to get remarried. We're good. During his time as a marriage celebrant, Mr. Smith was the co-founder of the Association of Civil Marriage Celebrants New South Wales and ACT. He served as the director, president and education officer and was awarded life membership in 1996 before becoming patron in 2009. Mr. Smith co-founded the National Council of Authorised Celebrants Australia in 2001 before becoming president in 2003. He was later awarded life membership in 2006 before becoming a patron. Mr. Smith also co-founded, then became a life member of the Coalition of Celebrant Association. He is also a current volunteer and patron of the Coronation Festival. Apologies. Please put your hands together, everyone, and congratulate Mr. Robert James Smith. Come up, sir. For his service to the community through emergency response welfare organisations. Congratulations. The next OAM recipient is recognising the late Mr. Trent Andrew Jennison. I'll go through a bit of a history. It's fair to say Trent was a visionary, and you'll see from, whilst this isn't a complete, I suppose, outline of his work experience and what he's contributed to community, but it's just a snapshot. But he's done a lot for the Taree local government area. So Mr. Jennison served as the Chief Executive Officer at the Mayo Hospital Taree from 1997 to 2011. Mr. Jennison then served as the Chief Executive Officer at Valley Industries Taree from 2011 to 2022. Some of Mr. Jennison's achievements include founding Valley Cafe, a disability-friendly hospitality establishment, founding Valley Linen, a disability-friendly linen service, founding Valley Plastics, a disability-friendly end-to-end recycled plastics plant, founding Mindspace, Intralink Therapy Solutions, an allied health service for people with a disability. Mr. Jennison was a volunteer board member of the Taree Community College from 2011 to 2012, a volunteer board member of the First Steps Council for Children from 2017 to 19, and sat on the board of directors for the Manning Valley Aboriginal Medical Centre. In addition, Mr. Jennison was also a councillor for the former Taree Council from 2001 to 2016. Please put your hands together as we congratulate the late Mr. Trent Jennison for receiving the Medal of Order of Australia for his service to community health, to people with disability and social welfare. And could I just ask that Marie come up and accept this award? Thank you. And lastly, I'd like to recognise Mrs. Noeline Cornhill. She was unable to be here with us today for receiving the Medal of the Order of Australia for her service to communities of Canberra and Foster Tuncurry. So please put your hands together.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Cheers. Well done. Well done. Cheers. Okay, let's proceed. We have Councillor Beasley on the screen, so I'm going to move that in accordance with clause 5.22. Councillor Beasley, take part in today's meeting by audio-visual link.
Second.
Thank you. And all in favour? Yes, you can vote, Councillor Beasley. That is everybody, I think. Yes, it was everybody. Cheers. Moving to the minutes, I'll move that the minutes of the 29 July 2026 ordinary meeting, copies of which were distributed to councillors, be taken as read and confirmed as a true record of proceedings. Seconder, please.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. All in favour? That is everybody again. Thank you. And before we go to the business papers, I just need to call if there's any declarations of interests, conflicts of interest. Mel? Oh, sorry, Councillor Mackenzie. Sorry,
That
was a bit casual.
less than
Sorry.
significant non-pecuniary. Two of the participants I'm aware of.
Yep. So that was for item.
It is
It's at the end of the agenda.
Court matters before the court,
Yeah,
2010.
2010. Thank you. Sorry, you may have said that. I just didn't hear. Okie doke. Oh, no. All right. So moving to, sorry,
Mayor,
Councillor Beasley.
Mayor, and likewise, Item 20.10 matters before the court. I have an non-pecuniary less than significant interest in one of those items, as I was on the same ticket as someone mentioned in there, and
Yes.
I will remain in my room for it.
Thank you very much for that. Rightio. So moving to the reports in the agenda, we have I need to mention that we have some questions on notice. Councillor Miller has submitted 3 questions with notice in relation to the business transformation program. And I should have gone to that one first. Sorry, I don't know why I'm so disorganised. It's because we've moved things around on the agenda too many times. All right. So we've done that one. 14.1 is indeed a notice of motion from Councillor Beasley. Would you like to speak to your motion, Councillor?
I move that the council request the Aboriginal Reference Group to discuss the possibility of an addition to the Acknowledgement of Country statement that specifically deals with the unceded nature of this land at the time of British acquisition.
Thank you. And a seconder? No, we've got no seconders. Okay, double checking. No seconders, so the motion fails for want of a seconder. That means that we can move to item 15.1. No.
To 16.1.
16.1?
Yeah, we did.
Well, we did. Confusing myself. Thank you. 16.1.
Yeah, Councillor, 16.1 is a report which I've authorised and prepared with respect to matters outstanding, summarises outstanding resolutions and actions to date.
Indeed. So can I have a mover, please? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the information provided in the resolution register 19th of August 2026, attachment 1, be noted.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Turnbull. Anyone wish to speak to it? Councillor Miller and then Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a question for the General Manager, which is about one item. It's bottom of page 9 on the attachments that list all the matters. It's 2026/90. It asks for, it's a mayoral minute to support the campaign for the federal assistance grants. And it notes there were 3 actions, 2 of them are complete. And the last one is just that the Mayor continues to lobby, which is listed as in progress. I'd suggest if it's just continue to lobby, we could probably call that matter complete and go to business as usual.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Thank you.
Happy with that. It's just a constant. Councillor Mackenzie. Oh, I beg your pardon.
Right.
Councillor Graham.
I just have a question for the General Manager, just regarding the resolution 2025/155, just regarding my nom of the 27th of 5th meeting, just regarding my nom of regarding glyphosate. Just if I could have an update on the progress.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are preparing a report on that. We're going to workshop with councillors beforehand. I'll need to determine what date we could slot in for a workshop. It's work between public spaces and roads. So a lot of the use is predominantly in public spaces, but it's also on our, I suppose, our roadside curbs. So it will be listed for a future workshop and work's being prepared on the moment on that.
No more questions? All in favour of the report? Thank you. Of the motion anyway. Thank you very much. It was carried. 17.1. This is a DA 2022/0188 for 70 Carmona Lane, Foster, works in kind agreement offer. And I understand that we have an amended motion from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the General Manager, so this paper proposes the report. The purpose of this report is to seek Council's determination on a request to enter into works in kind agreement. The request relates to offsetting works for the Southern Parkway Link Road and dedication land required for that road. The developer seeks recognition of those works as satisfaction of its 711 contributions. The request also seeks reimbursement for riparian land required to be dedicated under the development consent as well. The alternate recommendation is that we defer this paper to a future council report.
Right. So can we, do we have it
do it.
on the screen?
Yeah, so do we want to outline the reason why the staff are now recommending that the matter ought to be deferred? So, councillors, for your information, the report that are before you does seek a recommendation to enter a works in kind agreement with the developer, pointing to council's contribution plans. It's come to council's attention since the publication of the paper, so just really, really recently, that we need to take some legal advice to make sure we can enable the correct mechanism to allow the developer to provide the works for a particular value. So we could either do it in accordance with our plans or outside of that, and we need to determine the mechanism for it. So from my perspective, it would be prudent if council defers the matter for a future report so we could go through those, I suppose, see if there's any legal issues in enabling the works in kind agreement to proceed.
Okay. You're happy to move that way, Councillor Tickle?
Yes, Mayor, I'm happy to move that the matter be deferred to a later meeting of council. I'll speak to it, but I'll get a second.
Yes. Councillor Miller's seconding it.
Yes, thank you, General Manager, for outlining the reasons for that, which seems reasonable and in council's best interest to defer it. But I wonder if council staff would also take on board. My concern is that if we so proceed to take on the road, the Southern Parkway Link Road, as in-kind contribution in lieu of a section contribution, that we be certain that the ISPEC standards have been met before taking that road, so we do know we've taken a road of quality that won't be imposed upon council at a later date.
Yep.
Through the General Manager, it's a good point and an important one, and the requirement for meeting council standards is already captured within the development consent and the approval that was provided for the public works approval as well. And upon handover and completion of the road, there'd be an inspection and we would assess it against our standards. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, Councillor Miller.
A question, if I could, to the Executive Manager through the General Manager, or perhaps to the General Managers. The report has come through and then finding that we need to get legal advice. And if it's human error, that's okay, I don't mind. But what happened that we got here and we're changing tack?
Through the General Manager, I don't know that we are changing tack. I think we've picked up a legal issue in the two developer contribution plans that we have a question over. And there's concern that if we made a determination today based on what's in the report, as Adrian outlined, potentially we may not be able to do so legally. And so we just want to check that. Yeah.
A second question, if I could, just because we want to give developers some certainty that the motion says be deferred to a future council meeting, could we put some sort of no later than? I don't want to do an unreasonable deadline.
It should be.
But I'd also like to give some certainty.
It should go up to the 30 September council meeting.
Through the General Manager again, with the caveat that that the time lag is purely with us. So assuming that the developer will work in a timely manner with us, I don't see a reason why that couldn't come to, well, actually it's a very quick.
That's very tight. There are 2 meetings.
We've actually only got 2 weeks.
Would it be reasonable to say no later than the end of September? Yeah. I don't want to set an unreasonable deadline. If October is more reasonable, that's okay.
So maybe set it for the October council meeting, and then if it's earlier, great. If it's not, that's still reasonable.
Would the mover be happy just to add no later than October?
Councillor Tickle. Oh, you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Thank you.
All right. Does that mean the end of October or the beginning?
Well, there's only one meeting.
Oh, no. So we meant to capture it. Can we just stick in end of October? Because otherwise it would come to a September meeting.
No later than the October council meeting.
That's it. Yeah. Or that works too. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah.
And Councillor Miller, you were the seconder, so you're fine. I'm going to put the motion all in favour of this revised version. Councillor Beasley, yep, that is everybody. It's carried. Moving to 17.2, which is a development activity and assessment performance report for April to June 2026.
Through the General Manager,
Yes.
this item provides council with an overview of development assessment, building certification and customer activity for April through to June 2026. It highlights the continued high level of development activity across the mid-coast and some improvements in development determination timeframes.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the content of the report be noted.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Turnbull. Would you like to speak to it, Councillor Miller?
Yes, the content of the report that we're noting is incredibly positive. So Mid Coast Council continues to assess and approve an extraordinary number of development applications and modifications and do it in a timely manner, which is fantastic. And that's the product of a lot of hard work over a lot of years of things like the Housing Barriers Program, which we'll talk about later in this meeting, and a lot of work in terms of how staff do internal referrals, things that we've talked about at previous meetings. But this is where the rubber hits the road, and I can't continue that analogy. I was going to say the car is going well. The rubber has hit the road and it's very successful. So 252 development applications and modifications determined, which is a lot. The average time reduced from 77 days the previous quarter to just 59 days, but the median determination time, and if I remember my year 7 maths about the difference between the median and the median determination time is 39 days. And just to put that into context, as is in the report, the average for New South Wales councils was 84 days to assess and get it done. So average is 84 days. If you're in regional New South Wales, the average is 76 days. If, like Mid-Coast, you're a large regional council in New South Wales, the average is 79 days. So you're somewhere 76, 79, 84, no, we're at 59. So we are getting through and getting these developments assessed and approved and modifications in a very timely manner. Mid-Coast had the largest volume of development applications lodged of any regional New South Wales council and still managed to do it in a timely way, which is fantastic. So my congratulations to the team in doing that. I did have a question through the General Manager, if I could, Mayor, just to finish off. I have previously in these reports criticised state agencies for their incredibly slow assessment times. I think from a previous meeting, Essential Energy was taking 197 days to assess, which just bogs the whole process down. This report now says we can't get the data for how long state agencies are taking to assess. It wasn't available for this. So my question is that because they don't want the criticism and they don't want to see how slow they are? Or is there some new system where the data will become available for future reports?
Through the General Manager, it's correct that the information wasn't available, but the state is going through a change at the moment where all agency referrals are being answered within one development coordination unit. And in doing so, rather than have to potentially do a referral to up to 22 different agencies and get 22 different responses back, the state is putting forward a significant, what we hope is an improvement where you get one response and it's coordinated. And so at the time the report was prepared, they had pulled their individual data off the league table we assumed at the time with the intent to then reconfigure it in line with what their new changes are. And that's what's happened. But at the moment, there's not real time at the moment. I think they probably need to get 6 months in to then do the reporting backwards. And so the league table, it has been updated, but it looks like they're not going to do each individual council. I think they're going to do their performance timeframes on overall. So I'll have to seek more information on that. Yep.
Watch this space. It'll be interesting. Yes, indeed. Anything else on this item? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. Echoing Councillor Miller's points, it is a wonderful result, and a lot of activity has taken to shorten that lead time. And I'm sure developers and people who put in DAs watch this like a hawk, because every day is more money. Every day lost is another day where the finish line is pushed out, and it creates complications. Looking at the data, we do have about half of them are under 100,000 in cost, which implies that could be simple in their nature, but they've always been there. So although we've seen it this quarter, they're probably there the quarter before. So we're seeing the average come down, which is good. But also, let's not say we're there yet. Keep the effort up. The team has done Really good job to get it to this point, and we need to keep on going. So congratulations.
Thank you. Nothing else? I'll put the motion. All in favour? That's everybody. Thank you. Carried. Moving to 17.3, which is the Housing Barriers Review Implementation Plan Quarterly Update. Executive Manager.
Through the General Manager, this item provides an update on the implementation of Council's Housing Barriers Review, including progress across its 3 strategic directions. It highlights the work undertaken to improve assessment processes, strengthen organisational capability and stakeholder engagement, and advance strategic planning, together with the progress achieved in development assessment performance and housing-related initiatives.
Thank you. Move, please. Councillor Wilson has his hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the content of the report be noted.
Thank you. And
It's a
second.
complex one.
Yes, it was tricky. Councillor Tickle. You'll just have to be aware up there, Councillor Tickle, that sometimes your hand's not visible behind a screen, which is fine. Just put it up a bit higher. Almost missed you then. Yes, right. That's fine. So anyone wish to speak to it?
I've just got a couple of questions, if I may. Through the General Manager to the Executive Manager, in the report it talks about housing delivery is influenced by the broader market conditions and infrastructure constraints. And I know we recently put a pumping station in an old bar that would make development more, make the lots more ready for development. So I'm curious, does council know how many lots, plots, developments are being held back because of the lack of infrastructure?
Through the General Manager, off the top of my head, specifically not the number of lots, but I think importantly for the intent of the question is we're currently reviewing our development contributions plan. And so as part of that is reviewing what infrastructure is required in order to help facilitate and unlock important large parcels of land across the Mid-Coast.
Thank you. And when will we have a view of that?
I would need to take that on notice. It's subject to some resourcing challenges internally at the moment. But I would have hoped that we're talking about in the first half of next year.
Okay, thank you. And one more question. In the Housing Barriers Review Implementation Plan, were there any initiatives in there that contributed to improved DA cycle time?
There are. There's quite a lot. So I guess if we pick out a couple that have contributed mostly to that outcome to date is the work that we've done through what we call and refer to as clearinghouse. And so what that's done is significantly reduce the timeframes in terms of how a planner needs to undertake referrals to different areas of council. And we used to have the application lodged and do a pre-assessment and then do individual referrals. And we've pulled that whole process back to the start where everybody sits in a room. It's actually very similar to what I just described in terms of what the state's doing. And council started doing that some 6, 8, 10 months ago, and it has made a significant difference. Yeah.
Wonderful news. Thank you.
Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Wonderful to hear that the state is copying our successful initiatives. We should get a royalty on that. I had 2 questions, if I could, before I wanted to speak to it. The first is to the Executive Manager through the General Manager. The report talks about the new IT system and says that teams have been working to restore services to pre-BTP levels. That's perfectly normal that a new piece of technology has teething issues. People have to train on it. It sometimes makes it a bit slower, but then makes it a lot quicker and more efficient. So that's perfectly normal that it might be taking a little while. But do we have a view, how long are we expecting it to take to get back to those pre-BTP levels and then hopefully to exceed them as that technology beds in? How's it going?
Through the General Manager, we don't have set timeframes. So it's not just that staff need to learn a new system, the technology needs to be embedded with our processes. And one of the challenges that is the complexity to it is how the new system integrates with the New South Wales planning portal. It's not that we put in a system when we run our own process. It's got to connect in multiple points, and there's technology challenges of resolving issues and working through that. And so, development assessment is one of our key and priority processes within that whole property and rating program, and resources are directed as a priority to it as a result.
Just a follow-up question on that one, if I could. That's fine. I don't need, it doesn't have to be 4 p.m. Wednesday, but in implementing it, we would hope that it starts to lead to greater efficiency soon. And are we thinking that it starts to tick along nicely? Is it a couple of weeks, a couple of months, a couple of years? What's our sort of feeling on this?
Yeah, the gut feel at the moment, Councillor Miller, is it's 12 to 18 months to get maximum efficiency out of the system. There's a lot of process change that's got to occur. That's right across your entire business. Property and rating has tendrils or tentacles that affect virtually every operational part of our business. It's a huge portfolio. So it will take at least 12 to 18 months to get maximum efficiency. Efficiency gains will be incremental across that period of time, but to get maximum efficiency, I would say 12 to 18 months.
And follow-up question on that one. Is that in line with what we expected when we started to implement it? I know you have told us all the way along it's a major piece of work, it's a complicated piece of work, so that's expected, but 12 to 18 months, was that in line with what we thought?
Yeah, that's absolutely in line with what we thought. In fact, when you look at the way savings are being built into the BTP program, they go out to 2030, 2032. So the expectation is that it'll take that period of time to get essentially the entire system and all the modules working. So that it absolutely was built into the system and the expectations.
Thank you. My second question, if it's okay, Mayor, which is about the structure of the report. The housing barriers report had sort of short-term actions with September 24, medium-term actions July 25, and long-term actions which would be after July 25. And the attachment goes through and lists what's been completed and what's pending and what's delayed, but it doesn't have any new dates. I just wonder if in future versions of the report we could put a revised completion date for any actions that haven't been completed.
Through the General Manager, I agree we can do that.
Thank you very much.
Did you wish to speak to it?
If it's not too greedy, thank you. Just to speak to it briefly, because this is fantastic. And so my questions are important, but I don't want to overshadow that the housing barriers plan has been transformative to how we operate in the back office, to be more efficient and more effective and serve the customers better. And so that's all fantastic. And we've talked about the efficiencies in how we now do DAs so much quicker than we used to be. And I know other councillors probably feel the same way. We used to get a lot of complaints about slow or inefficient development applications, and I certainly don't get anywhere near that level anymore. Sure, as Councillor Wilson said, it's not perfect, but wow, it's pretty good in terms of the state average and in terms of our peers. But the other thing, as well as those efficiencies, is the state government's now giving us money because it's working so well. So because of those ongoing improvements in the development assessment times, councils qualified for 2 rounds of the state government faster assessments incentive program at $1 million each. And that's going for public infrastructure, it's state funding, going for things like public toilets, playgrounds, those sorts of things. Out of the 128 councils in New South Wales, only 30 councils qualified for this funding. So that's $1 million, and then we hope for a second round of another $1 million coming from the state to our community for community infrastructure, because this team has been doing so well with development assessments. So that's a fantastic outcome.
Indeed. Anything else on this? Councillor Beasley.
Yeah, just following up on what Councillor Miller was just speaking of, the New South Wales Government's Faster Assessments Initiative Program, which Council has qualified for. It doesn't state, I don't think, that one can get necessarily $1 million. So I wonder if a question through the General Manager to the Executive Manager, could you explain how this works, the amounts that one might expect? There's a whole lot of questions, really. What else do we have to do to be able to apply? Because it states we have an opportunity to apply. So could you flesh out a bit of detail on that, please?
Through the General Manager. So the state has a program where councils are being rewarded for very good assessment timeframes, and the grant and the process, it identifies benchmarking that suggests that an improvement on the previous year. And there's some other criteria, I don't know it off the top of my head. But what happens is if you meet that criteria, the state literally sends you a letter and invites you, a council, to nominate a piece of infrastructure to be delivered that the state will fund up to $1 million for. And there's some criteria around that piece of infrastructure. It needs to support or be identified in an area that supports growth. So connected to, new lots that are being delivered on the ground, essentially. I'm very pleased to advise councillors that we've once again been successful for round 2. We've had a second $1 million. And if I may take the opportunity to really congratulate both the major assessments team and the building certification team and all the support areas of council. It's a significant achievement while we've been embedding the Technology One system. I can't say that enough, and it's been really well done.
And the only, if I could just add, the only challenge from our end is when you're advised that you're a recipient, you don't have the big turnaround time to advise of the projects, and that's been a bit of a squeeze for us. It's not a bad problem. It's a good problem to have. We just have to ensure that we've got our list of projects ready to go.
Further question, if I could. How
Yes.
often do these rounds take place?
This is from my memory.
Yeah, there's
what's
two.
The second round.
Yeah, this is the second round. We're expecting a third round, and I haven't heard anything beyond that. But prior to the first and second rounds, there were no rounds.
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a new program.
And essentially, that's what I was.
I just wonder whether they happen annually.
No, it's
No.
a brand new program, just been brought in, this year? Did it start
Yes.
this year?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
And-
for these
and-
rounds, they've looked backwards. So we actually didn't know at the start of the assessing period that this was going to be an opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else, Councillor Tickle?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Speaking briefly, to the motion and the report, I'm just going to take on a bit of a different tangent in that when we look at the barriers program, it was all about how efficient can council be, getting approvals through, and the state government was certainly pushing that because it was considered there was approvals were slow, it was a barrier to getting people into houses, so let's get it through quicker. And that's it. However, as been pointed out many times by a former former director of Livable Communities, there's a vast difference between affordable housing and social housing. I saw a report yesterday on television calling out the numbers that over the last, I think it was 30 years, I'm quoting, we've changed from public housing, about 1 in 10 homes built was for public housing, and that's like the old commission homes and that sort of thing, has now stretched out to 1 in 30. So we need to be mindful of the vast difference between affordable housing, which is a challenge, and the need for social housing to house those who can't afford rent, can't find rent, are left sleeping rough because there's nothing available. That is way beyond council to alleviate that problem. It's certainly a political issue from several tiers of government, 2 tiers of government. Council can do our piece, but so much of that certainly has got to come from federal and state government to address the real problem, that is those who are struggling to afford rent, those who are struggling to obtain rent, and those who are struggling to even find somewhere to sleep. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anything else? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Everybody, carried. 17.4 is Economic and Destination Development Update, January to June 2026. Executive Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the General Manager, this item provides a 6-month update on Council's economic and destination development activities from January to June this year. It covers progress in supporting local business, investment and workforce attraction, digital connectivity, major events and the visitor economy, while also providing an overview of the broader economic conditions and emerging priorities for the region.
Thank you. Mover, Councillor Turnbull.
I move that Council notes the Economic and Destination Development Biannual Update for the period of 1 January to 30 June 2026.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Wilson. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Turnbull?
I do, just because I want to highlight some things that are in there. Not everything. This, like many other council reports, is huge and full of so much information. So there might be some people who are out there who haven't read the detail. But I just wanted to share some of the big points. So we've got 4 major state level events hosted in the region during the first 6 months. So New South Wales Hockey Under-14 State Championships, Bowls New South Wales State Championships, Country Women Association State Conference, and the New South Wales Rugby Under-12, which generated an estimated economic impact of more than $7 million. Then there were also 12 successful event sponsorship applications where we gave away $36,500. There's multi-year sponsorship arrangements that were secured for Old Bar Beach Festival, Barrington Coast Air Show and Barrington Coast Fives. Then there's also the Business Buzz. So this is an email newsletter that's distributed monthly to businesses, and it's got open rates of 50%, which is huge and not seen. So if there are any businesses out there and you're not subscribed to Business Buzz, make sure you get onto that. And then we've got visitor information numbers, which I thought was really big and great. So we've got Foster had 5,800 visitors and Gloucester had yes, that was 5,800, and Gloucester over 5,000 just in the 6 months. So I haven't covered everything, but I just wanted to bring out some highlight points and just to say, well done, team. Like, a huge report and with great results.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else on this one? Councillor Tickle.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question, but first of all, interesting the point that Councillor Turnbull made, and we keep seeing this, the numbers that attend Gloucester as a tourist destination, and it's easy for us when we think of the concept of Barrington Coast to undersell the attractiveness we have to areas that's not completely on the coast. The beautiful hinterland we have from Gloucester, Mount George, the beautiful scenery there is on the simple drives in that area. We are certainly fortunate to live in this beautiful area, and it's well described. The Barrington, the mountains to the coast, the vast diversity there is between the west to east, the coast. And I will say that one of the most spectacular train trips you could ever go on is to jump on the train at Taree and travel through to Dungog, where you take in all that scenery through the cutting through Mount George. It's absolutely spectacular and mind-blowing. We have it right on our doorstep. So the question I do have, and I must admit I was trying to get my head around it, and thanks to Councillor Miller, I think he enlightened me what it actually meant, and that was the massive result when you look at the number of people from capital cities who have migrated to this area. So we're now in the top 5 by destination of people choosing, when they leave the capital cities, where do they want to live? And they want to live in our area. So am I correct, Executive Leader, and thanks Councillor Miller to explaining it, that if we look at the total number of population Australia-wide that have left capital cities, 2.1% of those have said, hey, we want to live in the mid-coast. Is that the best way to describe it?
Correct.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. I was trying to work this out. Was a percentage of what it was. I looked at it too deeply. But if you look at it a bit further with that graph, a bit further to the south is Lake Macquarie, which polled 3.1%. So if you look at that, this area just to the south and us together is over 5% of choosing this near vicinity as a great place to live, and indeed it is. But once again, I endorse what Councillor Turnbull has said. It's a tremendous report. We look forward to it when it does come out, and I implore the whole of our community to read this, particularly the business community, because it is when you look at trends like this, if you play the smarts as a business person, you can think about how do we pitch our business to capitalise on this? Where do we put our advertising? When we see the flows coming from, and it's consistent, visitors to Foster coming from the hills area, Borkham Hills. And the other aspect too, which blow people away, that our greatest influx of visitors actually come from Port Macquarie. And people say, well, you know, why would that be the case? And anecdotal, a few shopkeepers have said to me that Port Macquarie people love coming to Taree, for example, because they can park undercover, they can walk to both shopping centres, they can have a nice relaxed lunch. They don't have to fight for a park that plagues Port Macquarie at various times. I don't think about Port Macquarie, but it's fact. But that's its attractiveness. Then if they want to, certainly there's Foster as well. So we've got a lot going for us, and we tend to undersell, particularly, people are quick to undersell. But I implore the business community, and for those who are just seeking to attract, look at this report, because it can certainly channel your direction the right way to attract further business to this area. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Howard first.
Firstly, thank you for the good news on the choo-choos, Councillor Tickle. And one thing I just want to say, on this report, one of the strategic actions is that Council supports business growth, collaboration and innovation. And there's one part of that we should probably make a note of. The Shop Midcoast gift card program is currently winding up. There is a planned closure date. In the last, where is it? Trying to find where I just lost my figure that I had. 1 second. Yes, I'm just trying to find where that is. We had, I think it was $18,000 redeemed since the last report. However, there is more than $44,000 of the Shop Midcoast gift card program still outstanding, sitting in people's wallets who have acquired these cards. So if you've got these cards sitting in your wallet, get out there and use them. There are plenty of lovely businesses out there accepting these Shop Midcoast cards, and I'm sure they'd love your economic activity.
Thank you. And Councillor Miller, do you?
I feel Councillor Howard said it, but thank you. I was just going to echo some of the things from Councillor Turnbull and Councillor Tickle. I think there is, as Councillor Tickle was saying, there's sometimes that narrative of who's going to move here and it's all going backwards and that narrative just does not stand up anymore. Maybe, and I'll take a maybe, it did once, but it just doesn't stand up now. And finding that Midcoast is in the national top 5 local government areas by share of movement from capital cities to regional areas. And in fact, we're the second in New South Wales, Councillor Tickle. So there's Lake Macquarie and then us. And if you think of all the focus and I have to say funding that goes to places like Bathurst and Dubbo and Tamworth and Armidale and Evo cities, even without all of that funding and state government focus, people are choosing to come here. I suspect it's for the excellent cinemas, great coffee, good bakeries and wonderful things that you find around here, as well as the fantastic people and scenery.
I have no doubt. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. This report looks back from January to June and it considers many aspects around economic development here. Now, one of those is tourism, and I need to bring your attention to the 7th of November, which is the Barrington Coast Air Show, and the early bird tickets close in 5 days. So take the opportunity. If you're going to come along, you know you're going to come along, get yourself a discount, go online and buy some tickets.
And there's actually a prize in the offer. If you get in with an early bird ticket, you go in the draw to win a flight. Yes.
Not a plane.
Not in a fighter, but I've forgotten the details, but yes. Nothing else on this. I'll put the motion. All right. All in favour?
Yes.
Thank you. Unanimous. Indeed. Moving to 17.5, which is the development determinations for July 2026. The Executive Manager.
Thank you, Mayor.
Please.
This item provides Council with a summary of development and modification applications determined during July 2026.
Oh, a simple one. Thank you. Mover. Councillor Graham. Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Turnbull. Any discussion on this one? Yes, Councillor Graham.
Just have a question for the Executive Manager of Sustainable Development. My question is just, in here there's 53 applications were either withdrawn or returned to the portal due to insufficient information out of 71. Can you just give us an idea on why they were returned? Is there a common denominator here, or is there something that we can help them with that we haven't?
Through the General Manager, the state legislation and guidance provides what the minimum requirements are for a development application to be lodged. And so we assess the information that's provided against that to specifically go deeper and interrogate what of those items wasn't provided would need to be a further piece of work that would take some time and resources. So I'd have to take that on notice if we were going to do anything further in that space. Yeah.
So you're asking Councillor Graham just to clarify that so that the staff can be clear you'd like them to dig a bit deeper and come back, perhaps at a workshop? Yep. Excellent. Thank you. Any speakers? Councillor Tickle.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. To follow up from point Councillor Graham made, I'm not about creating unnecessary work from staff, but I think if the staff can focus from perspective that I guess discussion councillors may have had on this same subject, that if the community are finding there's an impasse, whether it be the portal or from getting from point A to point B to get an approval, and things need to be done better, it'd be good to know about it. If we need to, I guess, politicise things a bit, if there is a roadblock in the portal, we need to know what that is so we can elevate attention to that. If there's a common denominator where people are failing in their application, how we're communicating that, even things like requests for further information, RFIs, what is the time allowed for the proponent to come back with that information? So I guess it'd be good for the councillors to have a bit of education. Here's the process, here's where it's up to. This is why one would DA be amongst the 53 that's been rejected. Let's hear about it. I guess where I'm coming from this is that it's really important to get the stats correct, where you get approvals through in a timely manner, but we've also got to be cognizant that we've got to be fair to those out there who have an application pending. Can it be resolved? Can they be helped along the way? So I think we need to learn a little bit more about it, what goes on with the 53 and where we get there and what we can do better. So I'm not looking for a massive separate project body of work, but I guess pull out a few sample pots as an example. So here's where it is, here's how we're dealing with it, just so we get a greater understanding and comfort. And a workshop will be fine. Thank you, Mayor.
Through the General Manager, if I can do a response. I think pulling out some examples and having a strategic workshop is a good idea. But I guess the critical thing to note is when those incomplete applications aren't in the system, it means we start getting better determination times with the ones that are fit for purpose to be addressed. And that's a really important thing to note. The other thing that has driven this is the state has imposed 7-day timeframes in terms of having to work out whether something is suitable for lodgement or not. They've completely taken away the ability in that timeframe, which used to be 14 days and before that it was longer, to be able to assess an application, or not assess, but review the information submitted for an application, send an RFI letter to the applicant, give them time to respond, and then bring it back and then look at it again. You can't do that in 7 days, and receive payment as well. You can't do that in 7 days, and they've imposed that timeframe quite deliberately. It's either ready or it's not. So then what we need to do is make sure that it's very clear within our development application guide and clear links on our website and information packs available so that people understand what information is required. The other thing that we also put into place is we've also got a pre-lodgement meeting process, or we've got a duty planner on duty each day as well. There are a number of mechanisms and ways in which people can find out what they need to do in the development application space. So it might on one hand look like we're being quite, negative and just pushing things back to applicants, but there's a broader context to why it's happening, as well as the letter that goes back to people explains what the shortfall is as well. So we don't just return it and go work it out yourself. So they've got information as well. Yeah.
Excellent. That was very useful. Thank you. Anything further on this one? No, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Everybody. Thank you. Carried. Moving to 18.1, which was a tender for Muldoon Street design and construct contaminated land remediation. Executive Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This report presents the outcome of the tender process to appoint a contractor to remediate contaminated land at 28 Muldoon Street, Taree, and seeks approval for additional budget from the Waste Remediation Reserve to meet the revised project costs.
Thank you. I need a mover, please. Councillor Tickle.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council 1 allocates an additional $821,178 from the Waste Remediation Reserve, increasing the approved project budget for the Muldoon Street design and construct D&C contaminated land remediation project to $2.5 million. Point 2, awards contracts MCC-26-277-500 Muldoon Street D&C contaminated land remediation to CUB Projects Proprietary Limited. Point 3, delegates authority to the General Manager to execute contract MCC-26-277-500 and any associated documents on behalf of Council.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Howard. Do you wish to speak to a Councillor Tickle?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Howard? Anyone? No, we're happy? Oh, yes. Councillor McKenzie.
Got a few questions on this. And it's now disappeared off my screen, that'll be right. How long has council owned 28 Muldoon Street?
Yeah, we've had that.
Yeah, historically, it's been on the books pre-amalgamation, been always owned by the former Greater Taree.
Were we aware how the contaminated fill got there?
We believe that it was an original landfill for Taree Town many, many years ago. And it's essentially no one really knew about it, and that's how it's come to the surface.
Right.
Literally.
Thank you for that background.
Councillor Wilson.
Thank you. Just for the members of the public, the contamination relates to asbestos, so it was probably dumped there in the time when people thought asbestos was safe and forgotten about. So this is important remediation, and also it makes the space behind the VRA usable for training. So it's a good outcome.
Councillor Graham.
Yeah, my question is the wrong page anyway. For the director, the executive manager of public spaces, there's an additional 821,000 roughly increase the budget. What was the reason for the increase?
Through the General Manager, when we adopted a budget, that predated us having the development consent conditions, and we hadn't gone to market yet. So we've now gone to market. We know what the market rates are, and hence the need to revise budgets. We're going with the tenderer that provides the best cost benefit for council and the community.
Thank you. And Councillor McKenzie.
Just quickly, again, if I may, being that we're in control of contaminated waste in this area, we worked with the tenders and the contractors to reduce costs, being that the contamination will be going to our facilities?
Through the General Manager, the management of contaminated materials is heavily regulated by the EPA, so we have to manage those materials in accordance with our licensing requirements. Not an easy thing to reduce costs associated with the handling of contaminated materials. So there's no real opportunity for us to waive fees, and particularly with the levies imposed by the state government associated with waste facilities.
Councillor Wilson.
Just a question through the General Manager, the Executive Manager. Is this a competitive tender?
Through the General Manager, correct.
Yes, so we get the best price that way?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing further. Yes, Councillor Howard.
Sure, if Mel or Councillor McKenzie asked this question, or not, but I'll ask it anyway because I don't think he did. The contaminated waste that gets taken away, will we dispose of that here at our facility, or will that be taken away to to an offsite facility outside the LGA?
That's a good question. I'll take that one, Councillor. It will
Thank
go
you.
to Buckets Way landfill facility, and essentially there'll be a transaction on paper where one part, the project component, pays the actual waste facility for the dumping of that waste. So it's sort of in and out in the one ledger.
Nothing
Good
more?
result then.
Yep. I'm going to put the motion. All in favour? That's everybody. Thank you. Ripping through it. 19.1, which is low cost loans initiative, housing enabling sewer infrastructure applications. Director.
Thank you, Mayor. This report seeks council endorsement to submit 2 applications under the Low Cost Loan Initiative Round 5 for housing enabling sewer infrastructure projects both at Old Bar and Tari.
Thank you. Mover. Councillor Howard.
Yes, I move that Council 1 endorse 2 applications under the New South Wales Government Low Cost Loans Initiative Round 5 for the Old Bar OB08 Gravity Trunk Mains and Dawson Sewerage Treatment Plant Augmentation Projects. And 2, note that any resulting borrowing budget, capital program or additional delivery resources arising will be managed through Council's established processes. No, I don't wish to speak to it.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Turnbull. Does anyone wish to speak to it? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a good opportunity to take advantage of some state funding to get some things done. But I did have 2 questions for the Director through the General Manager. The first one is why these 2 projects? I can see good reasons for these projects, but of course we have a lot of good projects on the books. What made these 2 projects a good fit for this funding application?
These 2 are literally the 2 next projects in our existing capital works program for sewer. They're ideally targeted to the intent of the particular grant funding program or the program that supports it. And in order to do what might be otherwise in the program, we'd actually end up deferring these projects for a little bit or potentially deferring them to bring other projects forward. So it's literally just the logical sequence that it's come up. Noting that any project that's commenced is ineligible. So we've already got a large program of work, but we can't retrospectively go back and apply for that. Hence these 2.
Next 2 cabs off the rank, that makes sense. My next question is, I couldn't see it in the report. It says that it's funding, and we haven't got the funding yet, so let's not count our chickens, but it says it's funding 50% of the interest cost of the project, but I didn't see a dollar figure. Do we have some idea of what kind of dollar figure we're looking at?
Yeah, we do have a bit of an idea, but all of that would be confirmed exactly when we take down loans and we get the repayment schedule and we can do it. You're looking at the potential annual saving of interest on around $16 million of principal, which if you're looking at a 5 to 6% interest rate, it's going to range somewhere between $400,000 to $470,000 per year to save. That's the 50% of what that interest rate would be. So it's certainly not something to be taken lightly. It makes a significant improvement over the life of those loans, which would be 10 to 20 years potentially. That's a good saving for council. Hence why it's recommended for.
Excellent. Thank you. No, that is for work that we were going to do anyway, and we were going to be up for the full cost. That's fantastic. My last question is point 2 of the recommendation. I'm just wondering what lifting that paragraph does, noting that any resulting borrowing budget, capital program, that of course is in the usual way. And I don't want to accidentally approve or vote for something that has a repercussion that I'm not aware of. So I'm just not sure why point 2 is there and what the intention of that is.
The intention of that is just to capture and reinforce the fact that we'll still be following our normal processes around project delivery. The report itself highlights that one of the projects will probably have to come forward a little bit in timeframe just to fit within the delivery schedule to be eligible for the grant. And the other one, it should be, the current program is within the timeframe, but it's just to make sure that it covers everything because there are some formal processes around when council borrows and those sorts of things. And what that does is it commits us from here to follow that process if the grant application is successful. The reason that this report is here is under the guidelines that suggested that you have a resolution of council to endorse the going forward. But obviously there'll be some lag time associated with the assessment and announcement, and these sorts of things will actually flow through into next year's operating and delivery programs.
Thank you. It would be. It may be in the report, and if it is, I apologise. It would be helpful to put that in the report, because one of my questions was, why is this here? And if that is the reason, it's helpful to put that in the report so we do understand it. Now, this is very good news. And I think what you said on the last answer is then you'll still come back with the tender process to be approved and the works to be approved. Could you also, just to make sure, it does say in here that, of course, if we are successful and bring it forward, we'll have to rejig some of the other plan. And I assume that would be reported to us as well if other things are delayed to get these projects in.
Correct.
Thank you.
There was an option or an opportunity for us to, potentially prospect and apply for it anyway, but reinforces the strength of our application if we have a resolution of council that endorses it.
Can I just provide some clarification on something that was said earlier? So certainly support the recommendation and the approach taken by council staff. The reimbursement is for up to 50% of interest. It's not 50% of the interest payment. So we'll hopefully we'll get the 50 if we're successful, but it's up to 50%.
That does seem very strange. I mean, they could come back and say you got 5%, 1% goal in extreme. So we got no idea what guidelines or criteria they're using?
No, so we'll report back to council on that and if successful.
I certainly look forward to having that problem to resolve, because it means we're successful to start off with.
Yes, right. Anything is a savings. Councillor Tickle.
Thank you, Mayor. I wonder whether the General Manager and the Executive Leader, Director, of Corporate Service can take it on board, perhaps including the report, or come back to us. I'm just thinking around the mechanism of the loan process that, let's assume hypothetically, there's borrowing a 6%, fixed rate for a certain period, and the money comes in at say 50%. Here's 3% of that amount. I guess the mechanism, I'm wondering how would that be applied? I would assume and think about it in a report or come back to council that amount of money would get quarantined, and when the fixed rate period of the loan finishes, maybe consider then making a capital reduction off that loan, so it's true to the intent of the interest subsidy, rather than having it go to just part of a revenue, because it's going to be very difficult, I would imagine, to organise with a lending institution that they're only going to pay us, only charge half the interest cost, whatever it is. I'm just trying to understand the mechanism of how it would apply.
Yeah, so what we'll do is if we're successful, assuming that we are successful, which I'd like to do, we'll do a further report to council advising of the application and how we'll report and how we'll deal with the interest component.
Thank you. Anything else? No? Put the motion. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Moving to 19.2, which is Water and Systems Monthly Performance Report. Director?
Thank you, Mayor. This report provides key information on the performance of our water and wastewater services across risk, water quality, licences, compliance and safety, and provides a good snapshot of how we've been travelling for the last month.
Does mover, please. Councillor Turnbull.
I move that the Water and Systems Monthly Performance Report for July 2026 be received and the performance against the guidelines and licence conditions be noted.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Irving. Councillor Turnbull.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention a couple of points out of the report. So Bidawar Dam and Stroud Off-River Storage are both at 98%, which is great. And water quality compliance and sewer effluent compliance are at 100%. You cannot get better than that. Well done, guys.
Great. Anything further? No? I'll put the motion. All in favour? Everybody. Thank you. Carried. 19.3 is the August 2026 Flood Recovery Transport Update. Director.
Thank you, Mayor. This report provides an update for the progress to the end of July for our Transport Flood Recovery Program following the mainstream flooding just 14 months ago. I say 14 months ago, it makes me feel like it was a little bit closer than that, but it feels like a lifetime ago, but it's certainly still a long way to go yet.
Thank you. Can I have a mover for this one, please? Councillor Irving.
I move that the Flood Recovery Program update for July 2026 be noted.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Howard. Does anyone wish to speak to it? Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. A question to the Director through the General Manager. Hang on, I'm ahead of myself. Oh, no, we're 19.3. The delays to the funding approvals, it means that we're not getting works completed. So I read in the report that the community are getting somewhat frustrated, and council cops the brunt of that because we're the local authority for roads. So it becomes quite important. And I also know that we have a number of resources onboarded, geared up, ready to go, waiting for some funds to come through. And we're in this predicament where if the funds don't come through soon, we might have to, and I don't want to preempt anything, but if project staff are stood down, it takes them a long time to stand back up. So then you even get a longer delay. So what engagement has happened with the authority to expedite or escalate our concerns around the funding on these matters?
Can I just mention for the minutes that Councillor Beasley's left the room? Yeah. And returned, sorry.
Through the Mayor, we have operational meetings with our staff between ourselves and RA to try and focus on what the most immediate priorities are, and to some extent that is helpful because at least we do get some progress on things, and that's why we've been able to progress the major projects like Bite Bridge and Tyrai, and we're progressing through the detailed design of those now. We have high-level meetings involving myself and the General Manager and other directors and the Mayor with senior staff, including the recovery coordinator for the event from the Reconstruction Authority. And again, that gives us a really good opportunity to reinforce some issues. And at the moment, there has been some difficult discussions around the timeframes that are being involved. There's been some commitments made. The Mayor earlier this week reinforced our requirements and our experiences to the Minister for Recovery, the Honourable Janelle Saffin, and those that's something that we'll be following through and holding them to, because it is in a situation where some of the contract resources that we have available, potentially will take another engagement, and then who knows how long until we can get them back on site to continue going with our work. And it is frustrating because whilst we've been able to progress some of the big ticket items that require a long lead time and design, there's a lot of work on our sealed and unsealed road network that requires no design. That's been scoped, it's been tendered, it's virtually ready to construct, ready to send graders and equipment in to do that work, and we haven't been able to do that. I think that would be a really good signal to our community around the recovery. It's a lot of work that we've got to do, so the sooner we start, the sooner we can finish. And there's some particularly good examples that are just stark reminders to our community of the impact of the May flood event, and in particular River Street in Taree. You don't have to go far. If Glenthorne and River Road in Glenthorne's not enough of a reminder, then right next to the riverfront there in Taree is an absolute reminder of the condition of our road. And the hardest part we have is our community suffers because they do want us to go and fix it, and we've had lots of offers in that area to help us fix it. And anything we do in there becomes unrecoverable if we go in without any authorisation. So it's how we balance those things up, because we don't want to diminish from the existing maintenance programs, because that's still important funding that's going into our road network, especially if it's eligible for natural disaster recovery funding and we can get that through. So at this stage, we've had commitments made, and the next couple of weeks we'll see whether those commitments have been followed through. In sort of defence of the Reconstruction Authority, they have had a difficult time inheriting the perfect storm, you might say, with the backlog of previous events, our major event, a new system and a whole new takeover. But that's the frustrating part, because we as Mid-Coast and our community has sort of not necessarily gotten as far ahead as what we should have in the recovery phase and reconstruction, had that had someone else been the crash test dummy on the new process. So It would be really good to see some of those works start to flow through now so that we can unleash and get back into the reconstruction and the restoration work, which is similar to what the community saw immediately post the event during the emergency works and the immediate reconstruction phase, where we undertook, literally in about 9 months, we did $40 million worth of initial restoration works from that.
Just one more. On page 64 of the report, there's a wonderful map there, and it shows the EPAR, all the incidents, all the damaged locations, and also what we've scoped out and what we've sent and what's been approved and what's been completed. And I note that there's only one thing being completed, which is a bit disappointing and a circumstance of the situation that we're in. So for those following at home, worth a look.
Indeed. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. I think the questions that Councillor Wilson's getting to are very important. And Director, I think you are a kind and diplomatic person talking through incredible frustrations. The report says currently there are 26 submissions under one of the categories with a value of $156 million sitting on a desk somewhere at the Reconstruction Authority, and 2 have been approved with a value of $900,000. This is $156 million worth of work that we've done and submitted and we want to get started on. They've approved under $1 million of that. Now, the report says this is starting to impact on the program and resources available to manage delivery, which you've spoken about. Underlying this, our community is suffering through a longer period with a damaged transport network. And that's just unforgivable that the Reconstruction Authority leaves us in that position. I had 2 questions for the Director through the General Manager, and you've sort of answered that, but I really want to bring it home for if the Reconstruction Authority is listening at the moment online, stop listening and do some work. But at what point are crews sitting around waiting for work to be approved? They're sitting there, they've got the truck idling, they're ready to go, waiting for it to be approved by the Reconstruction Authority. So the Bight Bridge has sat with the RA for 234 days. Tyre 112 days. There are others at 234 days, 245, 186. How can this happen?
That's a good question. In terms of having anyone sitting idle, there isn't anyone sitting idle because this is all in addition to our normal operational maintenance and construction. It's all virtually completely outsourced, and that way, under the guidelines, we're able to keep it very separate from the work that we would otherwise do, and that makes it clean when it comes to accounting for the grant or the approval amount when we get to acquit it. So, in effect, we do have resources. We have lots of tenders who've submitted interest, who've put proposals forward, who've responded to tenders. They're sitting there waiting in terms of doing other work, waiting for us to go, yes, we're on. The worst situation we could probably have is all of them come online at once, and then we're back in a stuck position because we can't do it all at once. And we are programming it to do it in a sequence and planning to do it in a sequence that's somewhat logical and effective. But I can see it coming at the moment. It looks like they'll all land consecutive, and then we just won't be able to deliver it all at once. And again, we'll have some communities benefiting because they'll get done first, and other communities waiting a little bit longer whilst the resources clear the initial priority work and try and get through to them. We get lots of inquiries from residents around what's priority, what's not a priority. From that perspective, everyone's road's a priority to them. So we generally do get caught like a meat in a sandwich at times and trying to navigate our way forward. But we have had some high-level commitments. The next week or so will tell whether they come to fruition. And then we've also been committed that there are resources ahead, and I'm sure we'll be able to follow that back through the Minister for Recovery to make sure that we do get the response that we need.
Thank you. A second question, if I could. I think your comment before that the crash test dummies with this new system and, that our community is the crash test dummy. Council has been doing everything possible to move this along in a timely and efficient way, and we're just being, I think, since the flood happened, consistently let down by the Reconstruction Authority. That wasn't my question. My question is around the sealed and unsealed road packages, of which there are a lot. I don't remember the number, but it's a lot, which all have to be, individually submitted. And Council quite sensibly submitted some because they're all pretty much the same, right? Similar sort of structure. So we submitted a few and then we said, can you give us some feedback, make sure we're on the right track, and then we'll submit all of the rest, which is a lot, to make sure that we don't get all of them wrong and have to redo all of our homework. It's a very sensible approach. But sadly, we haven't yet had feedback on those few that we've sent in. And we can only wait so long for feedback before we have to get on and do the rest, which brings a real risk. I think we've tried to do the right thing. How long have we been waiting for feedback on these? Do we know why it's taking RA so long? And if we do have to press on and submit the rest, will RA take some responsibility for problems that really could have been addressed at the start that we tried to address?
Through the mayor, I just had a quick look through the table. The sealed roads and local roads, some of them date back to about 100 days that they've been in there. It is frustrating from that perspective because that was our hope, was to run pilots to sort through that and have a process then that we can just cut and paste and repeat over and over and over again, so that we don't waste anybody's time through that. So that'll be the challenge, because we are in the situation where we're actually moving ahead with some of those other submissions now on the basis of what we've done before, and they will get lodged when they're ready and go through that. So if we do have to adjust them, then that has to happen. I guess from that perspective, probably can't really comment other than the commitment that's been made to address some of those in the short term, and we should get some feedback back very soon.
Just finally to clarify, because we heard not that long ago about DAs, and the state government requires us to decide if a submission on a DA is complete or not. We had 7 days to decide on that when somebody submits a DA. You're saying we've submitted some applications, they've been sitting there for 100 days. We haven't asked them to approve it, we've just asked them to check it and let us know if it looks okay. So not 7 days for a DA, they've had 100 days and they haven't yet been able to look at it and tell us if it looks okay.
That's certainly what the evidence and the information in the table. Some of the longer serving applications have been put in. We have had informal go-aheads to keep moving, and that's the Bite Bridge and Tyro bridges. And that's pretty important because it's allowed us to progress towards a better understanding of the project and its scope and a value, rather than committing to something. Well, so that serves the community and council and the Reconstruction Authority better to get further along. It does keep the risk there that we're still not approved formally. We have to walk through that process, but at least that bit has been helpful. It's just the area when we get to some of what you might call the simple projects. They're clearly damaged as a result of the flood, clearly eligible for that. It's work that you do under a unit rate versus on the square meterage that you're restoring a road. It's not difficult. The challenge is the volume of it and the amount of it that we have to both account for, apply for, and have assessed and have approved. And that's hopefully what we'll see start to move in the next few weeks, and we'll get some really good positive results.
Anything else on this? Yes, Councillor Graham.
Yeah, I have a question for the Director of Infrastructure and Engineering Services, through General Manager. On page 55, nothing to work, we have the total funds expended on recovery which are unrecoverable through the DRFA, a figure of a bit over 2.2 million. About 461,000 actual staff and consultant costs. Can you let us know what the other $1.6 million was spent on, and why that total figure is unrecoverable through these guys?
I can broadly comment on that. If you want specifics, I'd have to take that on notice to produce a table with it. But generally, it's where our teams and our contractors engaged in either the emergency works or immediate reconstruction work have done work beyond the scope that's eligible. It's not necessarily saying that they've done work that's not valid. They've done work that's clearly valid because the intent is to do what's necessary to make the road safe and those sorts of things. I would suggest there's always going to be a healthy amount of work that's potentially ineligible. In this case, it's quite a good percentage from a recovery point of view. From our perspective, shows that our staff have used diligence in applying the guidelines as best they could. The crux of it is we'll never know if there's stuff we could have done that was claimable, because if we didn't do it, we can't claim it. But we'll always find out if there's a little bit more we do. And a lot of it is where we've done one section and then we've done the next section, but we actually did all the way through. and only the two sections where we can validate and verify is eligible, but it doesn't make logical sense to anyone else to leave the little bit in the middle that's not necessarily damaged, not necessarily eligible, but completes the linkage between it. And that's when you apply that to the different types of work that's done, vegetation, drainage, restoration of embankments and those sorts of things. That's what it actually is. It's effectively the linkage, the stuff that you do, the extent of the work we might have done to tie back into the road alignment might mean it's 10 metres longer than what it was damaged. And because we can't demonstrate that section was damaged, it's not eligible, even though it's practical to do the work.
It's probably important to point out that we've actually put claims in for over 99% of the work that was completed.
Yeah.
And this is just a small component. So
probably the concerning part is some of the administration charges, and you see them itemised in the report around that. You mentioned the figure of $400,000. That's unfortunately our compliance costs of having to deal with the process. And whilst some of the time that goes into managing the work is recoverable, not all the time that goes into managing the paperwork is recoverable, and we end up wearing that from effectively it reduces what we can do elsewhere.
Anything further? Councillor Tickle.
May I speak to the motion, Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you.
Cool.
Just first of all, I did note to the Mayor that the excellence of the letter that went to Minister Saffron and understand the Director had a fair bit to do with helping to craft that letter. I think it was an excellent piece of work. So thank you, Director. Thank you, Mayor, for that. A bit of further information. The last 24 hours, when I attended a meeting of the Roads and Transport Directorate, this issue came up under advocacy and their draft submission to go to NEMA. They have now received a copy of this report. They have a copy of the letter that's gone to the Minister. Executives of the Local Government Association were also attending yesterday. They also have copies of this report and that letter. They too will be advocating for us as part of their submission. So it's certainly an issue. It's not only affecting this council, it's affecting other councils in the area where the methodology is certainly broken and it's not assisting councils. Just a bit of further background for those who are joining this meeting by Zoom. There was an excellent presentation given by our Executive Manager, Transport, to a group of Rotarians yesterday. And it was partly on this topic, and it was on asset AI. We have indeed been fortunate on one hand that due to entering a pilot program using asset AI to determine, to have an understanding of the total road network we have, and also been able to have that analysed on a cost basis. It certainly enabled a robust submission put as to the amount of recovery money we need for this. The Executive Manager pointed out that had we not had that program, would have been far more difficult to quantify and argue the fact that there was $80 million worth of impairment to the roads due to the flood that we need financial assistance for. So the $150,000 per year investment in this program has certainly given us a great dividend already in this short period of time. The other risk that we face by the delay is that if we do have a storm event that may not be classed as a natural disaster, the impact that is going to have on the road network. The amount of money we're asking for is not about betterment, it's bringing the status quo as best estimate to a pre-2025 flood event. But if the road network, transport network deteriorates further because of storm events that doesn't get declared a natural disaster, that's going to put us further and further behind in bringing the road network up to any reasonable standard. So it certainly has been highlighted that the timing has been less than perfect and it's affecting us, and the sooner we get this money, the better. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I just need to note that Councillor Mackenzie has left the room. Any further speakers on this item? Councillor Irving?
I've just got a couple of questions through the General Manager to the Director of Infrastructure and Engineering. Just a clarification on a table on page 59 in the report. It says next to the bridge package, it's been submitted, but the approval is being appealed. And I'm just wondering, does that mean that they don't accept the claim, or what does that actually mean? There's a few there that say the same thing. And there's also another section, there's a lot that say they're under preparation. So I'm gathering that's, we're still collecting information to put in the claim.
Through me, that's right. Where it says it's being prepared, that's where we're preparing and gathering all the information and collating it in the way that we did it. I'm not familiar with the particular grounds upon which we would be appealing the approval, potentially around the unit rates that have been used in the approval, where we've tried to justify a different unit rate by the circumstances of it. It's much handier for us to do it up front than rather try and do it after the fact. So I'm sure it would be relevant to that, most likely.
Thank you. Anything else? Councillor Miller?
Just a follow-up question. It's a good question from Councillor Irving. Could that the wording be clarified in future reports, just so it's a little more obvious what it means?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to put the motion, noting that Councillor Mackenzie's not here. All in favour? That's everybody else. Carry. Item 20.1, which is the July 2026 monthly budget review. Director?
The purpose of this report is to present the July 2026 monthly budget review. The report also includes details of proposed budget variations that have been identified during the review.
Thank you. Move it, please. Councillor Miller.
I move that the monthly budget variation report covering July 2026 be noted and the budget variations proposed, including transfers to and from reserves, be approved.
Good. And a seconder, please. Councillor Irving. Councillor Miller.
Could I just start with a question for the Director through the General Manager? Just on page 71, there's a table that talks about the projected underlying budget result of Gloucester Holiday Park. And at the top it says deficit, and then at the bottom it says surplus. I assume the bottom one is a typo. I just wanted to check that.
Through the General Manager, as much as I would like there to be a $400,000 turnaround within 1 month, in fact, I must fall on my sword and say it is a typo. You are correct.
Yeah. All right. Great. So just noting that typo, and I'm sure that'll be fixed in future ones. As you say, we're just 1 month in, but I do find these monthly budget review statements very helpful. The general fund projecting a surplus that achieved a slight surplus. That's mostly because of the timing of the federal funding. But, away we go for another year of budgets.
Yes. Anything else on this? No, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Everybody. Thank you. 20.2 is the cash investments report, July 2026. Director?
Clause 212 of the Local Government General Regulation 2021 requires the responsible accounting officer of a council to provide a written report setting out details of all the money that council has invested under section 625 of the Act. The report provides details of the funds invested by council under 625 of the Local Government Act, and essentially for the information of council.
Thank you. Councillor Mackenzie's returning to the room. A mover, please. Councillor Graham.
Okay, I move that the information provided in the report be noted.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Tickle. Councillor Graham, just to speak to it. Councillor Tickle. No, anyone? No. Yes, Councillor Beasley.
Councillor Graham and myself have asked the Director a couple of times in the last few meetings whether we could hope to see a direct relationship between the reserve funds and what accounts they are actually invested in. I've received an email response from the Director which states that there is no direct correlation between a physical investment held with a financial institution and its notional allocation to one or more of council's external restrictions, internal allocation balances or unrestricted cash, balances. So I've sent through a couple of questions to the Director in the last few days, and I wish to ask those now through the General Manager of Mr. Dizel. What are the criteria involved in choosing the type of investment for reserved funds?
Thanks, Councillor Beasley. So, as previously advised, there isn't a direct one-on-one relationship between a particular physical investment, i.e. a term deposit or a floating rate note, that Council holds within its cash investment portfolio, and the amount of any external restriction, reservation or internal allocation applied against Council's total cash and cash equivalents. So the way we look at investment is through the Local Government Act, and in particular, Section 625, it's highlighted in the report, that indicates how councils may invest funds that it holds. Council also has an adopted investment policy. The policy provides a framework for the management of council's investment portfolio and requires that all investment activities be exercised with care, diligence and the skill of a prudent person and not for speculative purposes. So when investing our funds, we give consideration to minimising the risk to capital. Preservation of capital is really the principal consideration of the investment policy and portfolio construction. Ensuring there's sufficient liquid funds to meet all reasonably anticipated cash flow requirements, providing council with the best possible return while preserving capital, and making sure we comply with various legislation, regulations, the Prudent Person Test and the Trustee Act and best practice guidelines. This policy is informed by the OLG issued Investment Policy Guidelines 2010 and the Ministerial Investment Order 2011, and also provides the criteria for all decisions taken in choosing what type of investment product that council will purchase with the surplus funds. In simple terms, we have a lot of funds identified on paper, but we have one bank account that they all sit in. So we invest out of that single bank account in accordance with the guidelines I've just outlined.
Just noting that Councillor Irving's left the room. Over to you, Councillor Beasley.
Just further question, please. As there is no known link between the money invested from a particular fund or contribution, how then is the interest accruing from the investment calculated to that particular fund or contribution when it is accessed?
So council has a restricted funds policy. It's available on our website, and it provides a position in respect to the allocation of interest to external and internal restrictions. The policy outlines the following. Interest on external restrictions. Interest must be applied to external cash restrictions where required by legislation, for example, developer contributions. The rate of interest is equal to the average weighted cash rate for the relevant period based on the Reserve Bank of Australia's published cash rate. Interest earnings are then to be added to the balance of the restriction, i.e. developer contributions. So when you look at the weighted cash rate for the period 25-26, it's roughly 3.84%. Interest on internal allocations is slightly different. Interest is not to be calculated and applied to internal allocations as a general rule. Where an additional specific circumstance requires interest to be applied, this must be specified in the resolution of the council, including the interest rate to be used. With respect to water and sewer funds, interest is allocated by apportioning the average investment yield achieved across all cash equivalents and investments held by council to the cash and cash equivalents and investments held by each fund. So those balances are then taken from council's accounting records. So there is a policy that's available publicly about how we apply interest to essentially restricted and both internally and externally restricted funds.
Thank you. Just one last question, and this is not a question which I had provided to Mr. Dizel beforehand. I'd noticed that over the last 5 years, council appears to have chosen faster maturing investments. And I wonder whether this is a particular policy, just in regard to something which you'd mentioned earlier about meeting necessary payments. Could the Director make a comment on that, please?
Yeah, I would make a comment. It really gets back to the key considerations that exist in our adopted investment policy or council's adopted investment policy. It's about minimising risk to capital. It's about essentially trying to maintain enough sufficient liquid funds to meet reasonably anticipated cash flow requirements. It's about the best possible return while preserving capital. So it's by following the dot points outlined in our policy that the investments have been essentially made the way they have over the last 3 to 4 years.
Thank you. And so Director, it is in your opinion that we are choosing faster maturing investments, is that right?
In my opinion, we're choosing the best essential investments around our policy requirements.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Irving has returned. Councillor Miller?
Just a follow-on question, a bit of a Dorothy Dixer. When we do choose, because you've given your opinion, Director, but when we do choose what horizon to invest in, do we use a dartboard, a Ouija board, or do we have professional investment advice that we outsource and report in this report?
Through the General Manager, as Councillor Miller has highlighted, we don't use a dartboard or a Ouija board. We do have essentially Laminar Capital as an investment advisor, so we do seek professional advice. We have a number of essentially excellent staff that are very highly qualified in making these investments, combined with our investment advisor, and essentially they take into consideration everything I've previously outlined in response to Councillor Beasley's questions to come up with the best value for money whilst maintaining capital for council, which is the best investments in the long run for the community.
Thank you. Anything else on this one? No, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Everybody, thank you. Carried. Going now to 20.3, which is status of preparation of financial reports for 25-26. Director?
The purpose of this report is to provide council with an update on the activities being undertaken in relation to the preparation of the 2025-2026 financial statements.
Thank you. Mover, please. Mover? Councillor Miller?
I move that the information be noted.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Wilson? Any discussion?
Just to note that so far so good and it seems to be going smoothly, and it was not always thus. So a lot of work through the organisation has been done over years to move us from, post-amalgamation, it was tricky. We've now bedded all that in, and the processes are now to the extent where this appears to be, and it has been for the last few years, a relatively smooth process. And on this update, it's continuing as a smooth process, so it's very encouraging to see.
Thank you. Anything else? No? Put the motion. All in favour? Is everybody? Carried. 20.4 is the Financial Sustainability Review Action Plan 6-monthly update. Director?
The purpose of this report is to provide a 6-monthly update on the completion of actions within Mid Coast Council's Financial Sustainability Action Plan.
You, Mover? Oh, we get slow this time of day, don't we? Councillor Wilson?
I move that the report and updated action plan in attachment 1 be noted.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Tickle. Councillor Wilson? Councillor Tickle?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? No? Put the motion. All in favour? Everybody? Unanimous. Thank you. 20.5 is the Delivery Program Progress Report for 1 July 25 to 30 June 26. Director?
The purpose of this report is to provide a summary of Council's progress as at 30 June 2026 towards implementing the strategies in the Delivery Program 2025 to 29 and the actions outlined in the Operational Plan 25-26.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Irving.
I move that the Mid Coast Council Delivery Program Progress Report 1st of July 2025 to 30th of June 2026 be received and noted.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Tickle. Councillor Irving? No. Councillor Tickle? Anyone? Councillor Wilson?
It's worthwhile having a look at the attachment because the new report is really easy to read and it's got colours and little symbols, which I know Councillor Turnbull likes. So I think
we all do.
It's so easy to read. You can see what's on track, what's been delayed and what's off track. So well done for publishing this report. I hope it's automated because there's a lot of work in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mayor. I echo Councillor Wilson's point, there is a lot of great work in this report. And if anybody, as I always say when this program comes up, the delivery program, this is our annual program of what we say we're going to do, and then we evaluate whether or not we did it. So the community often asks all of us as councillors, what's council doing? What's council doing about this? What's council doing about that? The delivery program is where you can see it for yourself. You can see exactly what we planned to do, what we said we would do, and then whether or not we managed to do it. So it's the scope and breadth of work that council does every year always blows me away, as it does again. So there are lots of great wins for the community embedded in this report. I do want to call out two misses. I want a question firstly to the Director of Corporate Services on the governance and risk, so page 105. And the action was percentage of agreed management actions from internal audits undertaken completed on time. So the internal audit identifies an action, management agrees that action needs to happen, we're tracking whether or not they're done on time. The target was 100%. At the half year, it was 83%. At the end of the year, it had dropped to 42%. So only 11 of the 26 actions had been completed on time. My question is, what's causing the delay? Is there anything systemic causing that delay? But more importantly, what is the risk from those audit actions not being completed?
Through the General Manager, in the first instance, there are essentially three reasons for why that result is the way that it is. The first one is that in the second half of last financial year, we had a number of significant staff departures, and those staff were responsible for many of those actions. There have been resourcing issues around high priorities, around delivering BTP and other organisational-wide programs. And we're also, as an organisation, weighting functionality within some of the systems as a result of the BTP program. Having said that, the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee does continue to monitor the status of all internal audit actions in relation to your question around risk. And the associated level of risk at every ARIC meeting is discussed, as you would be well aware. Many of the outstanding actions have been partially completed, but not fully completed, and we wanted to provide an honest reporting result rather than essentially say, oh yeah, they're partially completed, so I'll give them a tick. We'd rather give you an honest set of numbers. And the focus in that partial completion has been on reducing the high-risk elements of each of those actions, first and foremost. ARIC reports certainly include statements from the action owners that state the level of risk still remaining that's associated with each action. And for example, many actions have numerous components to them. It's not just a single thing to be ticked off. So staff have been focused on completing the high-risk components first, while the actions still may not have been 100% completed. So in my view, the risk has been significantly reduced, and council ought not be worried about that result. And further to that, council still has ARIC closely monitoring each of those actions on a regular basis.
Thank you. I'm encouraged to hear that the higher risk, so the risk rating goes down, even though it's not quite complete, you bring the risk rating down. And noting when you say that it's available to ARIC, noting that ARIC papers are available to all councillors when they come out, so we can follow this up. Thank you, Director, for that. Speaking to the motion, I did want to call out from page 126, which is the councillor targets. And remember, we're the only part of this report that gets to set our own targets. We're the only section of this report that has that luxury. All the other sections, the staff come to us with targets and we say, sharpen your pen a bit, pencil a bit, do a bit better. Here's the target that we want you to meet. We get to set our own. And again, we didn't meet any of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 targets that we set for ourselves. And as councillors, we didn't get to meet any of them. The targets that we did set was that we thought it was important that councillors attend council meetings, and we said the target should be 90% on the basis that maybe sometimes you're sick, sometimes you can't make it, but there is Zoom and other ways to attend when the Minister now allows it again. So the target was to attend 90% of councillor meetings, and 7 out of the 11 of us managed to meet that target. Workshops, it is important to attend workshops because that's where you hear about them. Now, those workshops were changed under the ministerial direction, but before they were changed, we said we should attend 80% of workshops. We agreed amongst ourselves, 80%. It's probably pretty important. Again, you miss a couple because you're working or you're busy, but we should all attend 80% of workshops. And 6 out of 11 of us managed to do that. Just 6 out of 11 of us managed to do that. Council holds community conversations, which are really important. It only happens, 2 sessions a year. We go around to about 15 community halls, and we have really important and productive conversations with the community. And we said, look, it's hard for councillors to attend every single one of those. So not 90%, not 80%. We should attend 50% of community conversations we agreed amongst ourselves was the target. If we can get to half the community conversations, that's 7 in the first half of the year and 7 in the second half of the year, then that's important to get to those communities. But only 5 of us, 5 out of the 11 councillors, managed to meet that benchmark.
Well, who were they?
And who they are is in the report. Thank you, Councillor Howard. If you're elected to be a representative on an internal committee, i.e. there's an internal committee, you've put your hand up as a councillor to say, I'd like to be on that committee, and council has voted you to fill that chair, then we've said you should attend 90% of the time. We managed to get 82% of the time. That's pretty close. That's not too bad. The same thing on external committees where you are there, the councillor is there and has put up their hand to be there representing council on an external committee. We said you should attend 90% of the time. We've managed to make 62% of the time. So we are responsible to the community. We're each responsible in our own way about how we would like to fulfil our duty as councillors. We're all paid the same. But I think it is important to be transparent and to say that we've set our own targets here, and sadly we haven't been able to meet them. And if the community wants to drill down a little further, it is available in the report with a table as to who's done what. The main thing is collectively we have failed our own targets, and we should think about that.
Thank you. Anything further on this report? Councillor Beasley.
Question, if I may, to Mr. Scott through the General Manager. I'm sure, Mr. Scott, you'd like a chance to be able to speak about those figures that appear on page, well, in our report, it's page 100, which relate to asset maintenance ratio and infrastructure backlog ratio that haven't met the targets. I'm sure there are plenty of good reasons. Would you like to make a comment, please?
They're just simply a reflection of the value of work done relative to the value of the asset base and the way that's calculated. And it's just simply, I guess, a matter of fact around if we've got the budget, the income, either through revenue or grants, and it's been invested in asset renewals, then it shows up as the renewal ratio. Being an engineer, I have obviously a bias for as high renewal ratio and maintenance ratio as I possibly can, because that means that that more work is happening on our assets.
Thank you.
I was just going to elaborate that this is not something that's new. This is something that councillors have recognised for years and years and years, that is where we're failing, and that's one of the reasons why we launched into a whole series of actions several years ago, some of which are bearing good fruit and others are being a bit slow, but we've still got a lot of work to do there, and it was a key driver for us to initiate that work, us being considered not to be financially sustainable in the long term.
That's right. It's the basis of the financial sustainability review, and there's, council just considered the action plan, and it's the basis of council's road strategy. We've talked to community for quite some time about our financial sustainability challenges. It's not that there's not a lack of desire to do the work; it's a lack of funds to actually carry out the task at hand.
Thank you. Anything else on this one? No. Noting that Councillor O'Keefe has left the room, I'm going to put the motion to the vote. All in favour? That's everybody remaining. 20.6 is the Business Transformation Program Progress Update. Director.
The purpose of this report is to provide council with a progress update on the implementation of the Business Transformation Program.
Thank you. Mover, please. Councillor Wilson.
Carrying a bit of a load today. I move that the council note that the Business Transformation Program Progress Update report be noted.
Thank you. Yes, seconder, please. I was just reading it. You didn't read out exactly the same. Council Turnbull. Thank you. But it meant the same. Thank you. Do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Wilson? Who would like to speak to this one? Councillor Miller would.
I had 3 questions, if I may, but I'm happy to pause and take turns as we go through. In this, we've spent $19 million of the $20.9 million budget, which is in line. That's on track. My first question to the director through the general manager is the property and rating piece of work, which we talked about a little bit earlier when we were talking about DAs, and we said it's a major piece of work and it's a huge impact. The report says it's gone through 12 weeks so far of hypercare, just getting that extra hypercare. Extended support period continues to be managed within the program's approved budget, BTP's approved budget, and does not result in an increase to overall program funding. So the BTP budget is not changed. But my question is, what impact does obviously there's been quite a lot of extra expenditure on this than we expected. So what impact does that have on the overall program? And if this item's gone over budget, but overall funding is unchanged, what scope has been changed to manage that?
Pardon me, through the general manager, in my opinion, there isn't an overall impact. And that's largely because the property and rating module was meant to be the last module implemented as part of the program. So if you refer back to page 10 of the business papers, where the response was provided to your question with notice, that outlines the 14 pieces of the business transformation program. Property and rating was actually the last piece of that. What we've managed to do through the course of that program is actually make savings, the various swings and roundabouts through delivering each module. And as a result of that, then we've looked at additional modules such as the water management asset structure and the contract management module, noting that the water asset management structure project is also partly funded by the water fund as well as the BTP fund, given it's a water specific project. So what that means is that the water asset management structure project is able to continue as it's being auspiced through the water fund, combined with BTP savings that have been made throughout the program. And the contract management module that we wanted to add into the program has been placed on hold, with all the other available program funding redirected back towards the stabilisation and embedding the property and rating system, because that's the best value for money for our organisation.
My second question, which does go to scope. So I think you said the contract management module had been added in. So my second question is, the report says that the BTP, we're putting the contract management module on hold. My question was, is that a temporary or a permanent hold? But I think what you just said was that wasn't in the original BTP and was added in. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct, but it's still a temporary hold. It's not a permanent hold. And that's because it's likely to be a future initiative that is going to be implemented in-house through our own ICT solutions team. So over the course of developing this project, we've also been able to develop a skill set in-house, so we're not then relying on external providers to deliver this. So what we basically will look to do is deliver the contract management module at a later date. We're not scrapping it all together. We still think there's value in that, but we will do it internally and potentially not part of the BTP project. The important part to that, and the risk part of that, is that it's not that the sky is falling or anything of that nature, because we currently use vendor panel across our entire business to manage contracts, and we do have access to the advanced contract management module for really high value complex contracts, such as those currently delivered by Waste Services. So they're using that module. And that will remain in place until such times as we can develop or deliver the contract management module. And the intent is to continue to do that. As I said before, the key priority is absolutely the stabilisation of the property and rating module. It is the biggest single module that impacts every part of our business. So from an organisational perspective, it's only fair and proper that we provide as much assistance to getting that as functional as possible so we can start to deliver benefits right now. Any final decision on the implementation of contract management will be made essentially in time after we've finalised what we're doing with property and rating.
Thank you. Director, I'm often told I speak quickly, but you speak faster. And it's a good time to promote the fact that this recording is available on YouTube, and I'll watch it back later and just make sure I've really nailed down on what you've said, because there are a couple of follow-up questions there, but I note that we are having a workshop soon on that, so I look forward to talking about it then. My third question, and I think my last question, I've been asking for a while for these reports to include cashable savings, and this is the first one that does, so thank you for that. The report says there's $2 million in savings being made to date, which is great, because the projected at this point was only $1.1 million. So that looks like we're ahead, which is great. But the report also has a phrase that jumped out to me. It says, further work is required to clearly link the cash savings to program deliverables, which it sounds a little bit like, well, we've found $2 million. We're not quite sure if it came from BTP or somewhere else, or what we did to get we haven't quite linked where the $2 million came from. So what confidence is there that the $2 million that we're reporting here comes directly from the 20 million invested in BTP, or did it come from other programs or coincidence or somewhere else? How do we link that saving?
Sorry. Through the General Manager, I would probably phrase it slightly differently. We've actually budgeted for savings for the BTP project as part of the adopted Financial Sustainability Action Plan. So we actively budget to make those savings. As you've indicated, we've well and truly surpassed the budget expectation for last financial year. We're on track this financial year. So we're meeting the targets. I can't honestly, hand on heart, say that every single one of the budget savings have been made directly relate to the BTP project because we haven't done that piece of work yet. There are, however, some that are certainly attributable to that project. And I think what's important to note is that we've got a really strong history in relation to organisational savings that have largely been directed to roads in recent years. But those savings have also occurred concurrently with the BTP budget savings. So when you look back across history, 22-23 was $7.5 million for heavy patching. In 23-24, we essentially increased maintenance budgets by 10%. That's roughly $1.3 million. Another $500,000 in May 24 went to roads again. We looked at essentially moving the entire rate peg across to roads in 24-25. 25-26, there was $6.7 million as essentially part of the roads program, with $4.7 million a permanent fix in the budget, with another $2 million as a one-off. And then again, this budget, we're looking at $3 to $4 million with a permanent increase, and that's on top of the BTP savings. So what I'm saying is we're making a lot of savings across the business. What we have never put in place is a system to actually track where they come from. So we're in the process now, once we've got the modules stabilised, is to try and work out how we can now track back across each of the modules, the types of savings we're likely to get for the BTP program overall. At the same time, we're also meeting our budget requirements as highlighted in the report and what I've just said before. Once we get that project, the intent is to try and directly identify where the savings are attributable to the BTP program. We're not going to be able to understand this too well and truly after all modules have been bedded down. As I mentioned before, in response to a question you asked my colleague to the right regarding development applications and turnaround times and speed through the new system, it's a 12 to 18 month program to bed that down to fully understand what the maximum level of benefit will be. So I will not be able to give you an accurate answer to the question you've been asking now for some time to come, because I simply don't have the data, we don't have the information because we're still in the process of bedding down and seeking those benefits across time. I think the other important thing to note is that the original business case that a lot of these numbers were based on was a static model, and it revolved around staff reductions to fund the program over time. As we all know, times change, and a static model doesn't really have any inbuilt flexibility to deal with the volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous environment that we all work in on a day-to-day basis. So there's obviously change that's ongoing, and we need to be flexible to understand exactly how that model can be essentially amended to reflect ongoing change that occurs within our business. Because what happened in 22-23 when that model was looked at is not relevant in the current day. The system has changed, the modules have changed, the way we work has changed, the legislation that the models and the business actually has to apply to that essentially we talked a little about back in the day when development applications were talked about. The time to receive an application was 21 days. It's now 7 days. So everything changes. And the static model that was used as the business case for the BTP is no really longer relevant. And we need to essentially talk that through with councillors through a workshop so they can understand exactly how the benefit system will work into the future.
Could I speak to the motion? Thank you, Director, for those. I will be voting for this motion because this motion asks that we note the progress update report. It doesn't ask us to approve it or accept it or give it a slap on the back. So I will be voting that we note it. But I am hearing a couple of things of concern when the Director says, that the projections were for a static world. It's never a static. Like any business case that projects out over a number of years assumes the world will change during that time. So I'm not sure where you're heading on that, but I look forward to workshopping it. The other thing, when you're saying that we've made savings, we're not sure where to attribute it to. part of me then says, well, we're very, very good at saving and we could have saved $20 million and saved some money anyway. So that's why I'm really, really keen to be able to attribute it to it. I completely take your point that there is a lag between enacting something new and then seeing the cash benefits from it. And that's always been very clear in the BTP program. So and you've given the table a number of times, showing that you don't see savings from day one. And in fact, there's going to be a lag through to, I think it's about 10 years before you see all the savings. That's built into the program, and I completely accept that point. The last point that I'd like to make is that if you go back through, and I took the time just recently to go back through all of the BTP program updates and the initial approval of it, if you go back through the business papers, it mentions, going back quite a while, that the team is working on a tool to track cashable savings. This is an important part of the project. It's imperative that we do this, and we look forward to bringing that tool back to councillors soon. So that was in a lot of progress updates. It's sounding like that hasn't happened, or there were problems with it. And again, you'll workshop that, and we'll see that in future reports. But it's that I'm asking for cashable savings and direct links to the BTP now is not a surprise, because it was built into the original design of the BTP. So I accept your answers at this point, but there are questions that I will continue to ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on this one? Councillor Beasley.
Question for the General Manager to Mr. Dizel. I'm wondering whether you could provide some history, and this would date back to the time of amalgamation. And I'm guessing here that there would have been work done to create a system at the time that was able to amalgamate the finances of the three councils. Was the work done at that time still useful? Has it gone by the wayside? Is it now part of the BTP? Could you tell me?
The issue that we had as a merged council was initially there was 3 ways of doing everything. Now then, after a year, there was another way of doing it as well. So we had 4 different systems, and we're a large entity. So it's not of a great deal to ask that the council has processes and systems and networks and IT to support its functions. There was an initial version, wouldn't call it BTP, because we didn't really have to have a BTP program. We could have just budgeted improvements over the years through IT upgrades, and it would have taken longer. But we had an initial version that we implemented for 2019 that brought essentially all of our financial systems into one. For those who were involved in ARIC at the time, a lot of council's initial internal audit function was revolving around financial process and systems, because that's our greatest risk. So we built in a council from scratch, because we were obliged to. But we had 4 different ways of doing it. So in 2019, we implement a system. It suits its purpose, but it's not as good as it should be. We don't get the best value out of it. So then we review it, and we thought, you know what, we could get a lot more out of this, and we need to invest a bit more in our IT structure and systems, and we'll get some benefits out of it. Again, that isn't an unreasonable task. We move into this building, best in the state, best in the country for a local government authority, but our IT and back of house processes aren't there because we're a new council, or relatively new. So when we talk about it's a static environment, we're talking about we've got processes and systems back of house that are just not up, they're not mature. So when you have those systems across 4 different ways of doing things that aren't mature, when you go to put in a new system that is meant to rectify that, it's going to cost. But as far as IT investment for an entity of our scale, it's a lot of money, but it's not an unreasonable ask as a spend for IT systems for a council of this size. So as far as background, we needed a system that is robust. It helped us, and it helps us tidy up processes and procedures on how we go about our business and how we relate to our customers. Really, really important. But whilst we have this built in here, and again, that was a $20 million spend, but because you can physically see it, it's appreciated. But because we're doing back of house, and we don't talk about the benefits realisation around this building quite often we don't talk about the benefits realisation of building a bridge, whether or not it's over budget. But for an IT program, it's quite difficult to capture, and we're committed to, and we'll do the best we can to capture the benefits out of that program. But all the program is an up-to-date IT system to service our community. We were doing it rather inefficiently before. We're wasting a ton of time, and we're just trying to do it better. So as far as background, there's 2 iterations of trying to implement IT for Mid-Coast. We've got the big shiny building, and all it is we need an IT system that works for our community.
And
Thank you.
Further the General Manager's
Sure.
comments, I actually think we've undersold a lot of what we've done in the IT space, because we talk about 4 systems. It is 4 finance systems, but it's not just 4 finance systems. It's 4 development assessment systems. It's 4 asset management systems. It's 4 records management systems. And each one of those systems integrates with another. So it's a much more complex problem than, I guess, what we've ever sold on face value in any discussions that we've had. I've thought about it long and hard over the last 5 months about how complex it actually is. So it's about taking multiple parts of different systems that all talk differently to each other to try and get them into one single system that all actually works as a single unit. Quite a difficult project. As the General Manager has mentioned, the amount of investment in that system is comparable to what other councils are doing across the state. So it's not out of the ordinary. But I think to put it in a proper context, it's not just 4 financial systems coming together as one system. It's 4 financial systems, 4 development assessment systems, 4 asset management systems, 4 records management systems that cover the entire business of this organisation. And we are a very, very big business. So the bigger the business, the more complicated that becomes.
A further history question, if I could. What financial assistance did the state government provide?
None. You don't have to finish that question. 0. Likewise for this building, 0. Apart from we did get some grants. I'll get to the 5 million. Sorry, Madam Mayor. So on merger, if you were in a regional council, and we're one of the largest councils in the state, comfortably, and we're a water authority, they were given $5 million as startup costs and to provide some sort of assistance. Now, that's grossly inadequate. If we were a metropolitan council, you just got $10 million off the bat. We merged twice. People seem to forget, 2016 and 17, and I advocated till I was blue in the face, and the mayor probably heard it, and everyone was probably getting tired of listening to it. But we didn't get anything at all. It just got parked and say, well, up to you guys. And if there's grant opportunities in the future, you need to apply for them. So for this building, we've got some solar on the roof, and no doubt would have got some grant funding for that, because that's the obvious thing. And EV chargers in our car park, yeah, would have got some grant funding for that as well. But as far as the government saying, you're merged and you've got a massive task, on merge, it was largely over to you folks. And all merged councils have struggled in that space, and $5 million just doesn't cut it like at all. That's 5 kilometres of road. So, they're giving us 5 kilometres of road, and we managed 3,600 kilometres of it.
Quite so. Thank you.
And I think that's what we did do with it, wasn't it?
I don't know, we did 5.
Okay. I thought we actually put it into roads. Yeah. Anyway, nothing else. I'm going to put the motion to the vote, noting that Councillor O'Keefe is in the room. Everybody in favour? Thank you. That's everybody. .7 is key capital projects and programs in the capital works schedule. Director?
This is a brand new report for councillors. It's part of the new reporting program that we're looking at around key capital projects and project reporting. It provides an overview of the key projects and programs that have been scheduled for delivery over a 4-year period, commencing in the 2026-27 financial year. The report consists of 40 capital projects and programs that each have a budget of over $2 million or greater. So they're the projects that exist within the delivery program that have that monetary value.
Thank you. Mover for this one, please. Councillor Graham.
I move that council.
I move that council note the key capital projects and programs scheduled for delivery over a 4-year period commencing the 26 to 27 financial year.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Turnbull. Thank you. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Graham?
Just to say, I think the format of the report's quite good. It's very easy. All the information is there in a really easy to read format. There's not a lot of pictures, unfortunately, for Councillor Nicole. But anyway, the rest is good.
Thank you. Councillor Irving's appreciating the colours. Thank you. Anyone wish to discuss, debate, ask questions? No. A win, a big win.
If councillors do, if councillors do have feedback on that report, please let me know.
Yeah.
It is a new one. Likewise with the next report that you're eager to hear about.
I think it's a sign that they're appreciating it. I need to put the motion. All in favour? Thank you. And those against? Councillor Beasley voted against. The motion was carried.
Mayor,
Yep.
the lag is such that you didn't see my vote for it.
I beg your pardon? No, I looked and your hand was down. My apologies. So you actually voted for that?
I
Yes?
did. Yes.
The minute takers have that.
Yep.
Thank you, councillor.
Thank you. I have to scan the room, so I do not see everybody instantly, even regardless of a lag. Moving to, which one are we at? 20.8. This is Organisational Monthly Project Status Report. Director?
This is another new report to the council, and what it does is bring together the previous essentially monthly project status reports that come from the various divisions of council into a singular report. So everything now sits within this report in terms of monthly project status updates. It provides a key status update on the key projects that are being delivered by council and looks at essentially project performance, health, and including assessments of overall status, schedule and cost performance to support effective governance and decision making. So it's the first combined report, and we intend to report this way monthly from here on in.
Mover, please. Councillor Tickle.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the Mid-Coast Council monthly project status report be noted.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Wilson. Who wishes to speak to it?
Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Miller.
I'd just like to thank in the structure of the report, and again, there's a major piece of work behind this attachment and the dashboard and the pretty colours, and that it is actually very helpful to be able to see, and you've had workshops and gone through some iterations, and it takes a lot of work to bring information together in this sort of single way. So thank you for the work on that. Thank you also on this report. It goes through project highlights and project, I think it's called challenges, which is valuable. It's like we've spoken before about the traffic committee, that it's good we have everything in the attachment, but for members of the public who might just be scrolling through the business paper, it's good to bring the key issues up to the business paper. You don't want to duplicate everything that's in the attachment. But this one, yes, it's project issues and project highlights, which is really great to bring that into the report. Could I just ask for the previous item, if we could take a similar approach on the previous item, just to highlight those key, good news, bad news, really. And then, of course, it's always available in the attachment to go further.
Through the General Manager, just to provide some context, on page 100 of this report, it refers to 3 reports: the monthly project report, the capital works schedule report, and the major project status report. So the way it will work is you'll get this report on a monthly basis. The capital work schedule is largely an information report that sucks out all the capital works projects over the delivery program. That'll be a once a year report, so you won't get this. The report that you haven't seen yet, because we're still bringing it together, you'll get it at the next meeting, is the major project status report. And what that does is excise largely the 21 major projects that are currently being delivered, and will report in a similar way to what the monthly project status report reports, and that'll be on a quarterly basis. So that's where you'll see a similar reporting format that highlights the top 21 projects that we're delivering across the entire project portfolio.
Just a clarification, if I could. So I think what you're saying is that, because I was asking for something in the previous report, you're saying it's okay because what's in the previous report is actually captured in this report. It's sort of a subset of the same information. Is that what you're saying?
The previous report is just an information report that largely extracts all the projects that council has agreed to out of the delivery program over the next 4 years.
Yeah.
And then obviously projects for year one out of that are in the monthly project report if they've kicked off. And some of those projects will also be major projects that have been delivered over that period of time. The regular reports you'll get are around the 21 major projects and the monthly update report. And you'll see the monthly will be all projects, and then quarterly you'll get the 21 major projects, which are the ones that are the highest risk to council. So there's, I guess, special attention paid to those, so council can have good governance over the major projects the organisation's delivering.
What you kindly didn't say is, Councillor Miller, your doofus, we had a workshop on this, but I'll take that as paraphrase. I'll say that myself.
Correct.
So thank you very much. Look, just to congratulate again on the, there's a lot of work that goes behind pulling these sort of reports together, and I think it will be very valuable going forward.
Thank you. And just to be very clear, I guess what you're saying also in relation to 20.7, which is the key capital projects, this is a one-off report.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else on this? No. Put the motion. All in favour? Everybody? Carried. 20.9 is the Mid-Coast Koala Reference Group.
The purpose of this report is to present the final meeting notes of the Mid-Coast Koala Reference Group meeting held on 6 July 2026, as the group has now completed its work to develop the Mid-Coast Koala Conservation Strategy and to support the successful delivery of the Koala Safe Spaces program.
Thank you. Mover. Councillor Irving.
I'd like to move that council, number one, note the meeting notes from the final Mid-Coast Koala Reference Group meeting held on the 6th of July 2026. And number two, recognise that the Mid-Coast Koala Reference Group has now completed its purpose and has ceased in accordance with its terms of reference.
And
I'm not sure what comes after and.
All right, we'll delete the and. There must have been another thought there at some stage, but that's okay. All right, thank you for that. A seconder. Councillor Graham. Does anyone wish to talk about it? Councillor Irving.
Yes, I'd like to talk about it, and I'd like to say that I was at the last meeting of the Koala Reference Group, and I'd like to congratulate Caitlin and her team on an outstanding delivery of the Koala Safe Spaces program. And also I'd like to thank the community for attending and contributing to the reference group meetings. And also I'd just like to say that this has been a very successful project, and I'm extremely impressed with the research that was done, particularly from the Taronga Zoo health assessments that were done at Budua Dam. There was incredible knowledge that was gained from this program, and it will benefit into the future existence of these unique mammals that reside in our mid-coast area. One thing that really stood out for me was, which was a bit sad in a way, but the colony that are in the Budua Dam area, they discovered that out of 12 breeding females, that 7 of them have chlamydia, so they're unable to breed. So the 5 that were left will consequently not be able to support the colony there into the future. So this just shows how vulnerable koalas are in our area, and we need to preserve them in some shape or form for the future of these animals, unique animals. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further on this one? Councillor Tickle?
Mayor, I was wondering whether the move and second would take a further dot point 3, which is that council acknowledge the valuable contribution to the reference group from members of the group.
I'm sure Councillor Irving just said that, but you'd like to add it into
Added as a
the...
dot point, so it's actually noted by council. And yep.
Yes, that's all right. So yes, the staff can do that, and as long as you're happy and Councillor Graham is happy, nothing else done. Sorry? That was the end. Yeah. So, yep. We're happy with that. Excellent. Thank you very much.
So just say acknowledge and thank
Yes. Acknowledge and thank. Thank you. Excellent. I'm going to put the motion. All in favour? Is everybody? Carried. And 2010 is the matters before the court.
The purpose of this report is to both list and provide an update on all the matters that are currently before all courts.
Thank you. Mover, please. Who was there? Councillor Graham.
Okay, I move that the report be noted.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Miller. Thank you. Any questions or comments on this? No? Excellent. I'll put the motion. All in favour? That was everybody? Yep. Carried. Excellent. So that gets us to the end. So all I have to do is check in that we have whether there is anything of urgent business that people want to raise. No? In that case, I'll close the meeting at about 4:25. Is that what that clock says?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ball.